Okay, let's go.
Imagine 5 aunts, and then there's 9 of us in my group alone. I was like, I need you all to stop, chirp, 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 like all over. So Paris and Switzerland were free days, and they all relied on me to handle Paris. But then the next day we were in Switzerland, and they didn't have a plan because we had a guide, but then the guide didn't go through. So then they were like, oh, you have to plan. And I'm like, what? No, I'm not going to because I already handled Paris and that was a fucking mess. But it was very fun. I'm like, there's 5 of you. You need to deal with it because, like, I need to rest too. And then my aunt was like, oh, it's the blind leading the blind. And I'm like, girl, okay, whatever. I'll plan it. Whatever, because all they were doing was just follow me around and have a good sense of direction. So they were just relying on me blindly. And I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Stop asking dumbass questions and get with the program. But thankfully, our good friend, our good driver, he shows us this map and he was telling us the places to go to and how to get there, things like that. But when I got back to my room, I made sure to go in the maps and I filled out all those logistics and things like that. Anyways, the next day, we took the bus per usual, 7:45 a.m. The bus ride, I was like, no, we're gonna be fine. But then when we got off, because that meant we were on our own, I was like, oh gosh, okay, it's in my hands now. Basically, how it worked was that we separated our day into 2 parts. First section in Interlaken, and then the next section in Lauterbrunnen. And I accidentally went the wrong way, so then we got back onto the train, went to the right place, and it was absolutely beautiful. After we got off the train in Interlaken, I also got tickets for us to go get up to Hungarian, and you have to take what is called a funicular, which is basically like a cable car. So I took my phone, I went on the website while we were on the train up, because I was honestly like, I really was just leading them blind, because I was like, I don't need a bunch of people up my ass about where we're going. I was like telling my family, I was like, just wait and see, when they would be asking me questions. So I was like, it'll be a nice surprise. I got a bunch of tickets on my phone, and then we had to walk up from the train station up to the funicular station. And with Swiss people are also very on time. So we made it. Perfect timing. It's either gonna leave with you or it's gonna leave without you. So you have to be there on time. Otherwise, the funicular takes every 30 minutes. So I was like, guys, we gotta hurry up. We gotta hurry it up. We gotta get there. And since my relatives are older as well, they don't walk as quickly. And even my mom was taking pictures in the background, and I was like, girl, I'm literally leaving you. We ended up on the funicular, thank God, on time. And it was also not an easy task because I had a bunch of QR codes that I had to scan, 9 of them, on my phone. I had to open them all individually, but thankfully we were able to make it on. And when we got up, it was absolutely stunning. It was also kind of scary taking the funicular, I'm not gonna lie, because it was on an incline. You walk up the trail, and honestly, the trail wasn't even it. Like as you get up, there's a restaurant, and there's also a playground, as well as hiking areas, and this balcony that takes you off the cliff, and you see a bird's eye view. It was so nice, but I was also visibly upset because I was like so annoyed and so done with my family that I desperately needed a break. Like, oh my god, just leave me alone, please. I'm exhausted. So thankfully I was able to take time on my own, and I went off. My brother and we went off on our own, and eventually we went up to the playground and other areas where I just wanted to see the view, honestly. And on one of the playgrounds, there was this metal slide, and you have to climb up the ropes in order to get up there. And I was wearing the silky skirt, so I climb up the ropes, and then I go down the slide. Because I reached the end, and I keep going, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm not gonna stop. So I literally fly off the slide, and I got a gnarly bruise from it, even worse than the ones from fencing. So as we were heading down from Interlaken to head to Lauterbrunnen, we had to split our time because our time was limited. We had to meet to take the bus at 3, and at that point it was right before noon. So we go down and we see a bunch of ducks in the water, take the train, from Interlaken to Lauterbrunnen. There's a bunch of shops, a lot of restaurants, so we got to go eat there. And some of my family and I, we ordered burgers, and it said on the menu that it was XL, and it really was, because the cows in Switzerland are huge. They're freaking fat. So when we headed over there, we walked around for a bit, and we saw this big waterfall up ahead, so we started walking towards there. And like I mentioned, some of the aunts, a lot of my aunts are older, so they aren't really fond of walking too far, but the others were like, no, we gotta see the waterfall, like the view is absolutely worth it, the walk is worth it. So we went over there, and while the aunties were taking pictures, my brother and I, we just sat and chilled while they were doing their thing. Afterward, I also told them that we have an hour before we have to go, so they would have time to go souvenir shopping and things like that. We were walking around. My friend from the tour was texting me saying, you're gonna laugh when I tell you what was going on because shit went down. Since it was a free day, we're allowed to do our own things, or we're also able to sign up for the extra excursions, which are optional, like such as activities or things like that. And some of the people on the tour, they went up to Jungfrau, the highest point in Europe. They went up onto the mountain, there was snow, and there was also a zip line. So while my friend was up there, she's holding onto her phone, then suddenly it drops out of her hand off onto the cliff. There's people helping her out.
Please.
He's making a show
Yeah,
of it.
he's gonna get it.
Please.
They take the bolero and they climb up, and they actually save her phone. She was really lucky at that time, because if it fell only just a couple inches away, then her phone would have been gone. It would have been really hard to retrieve. But they were able to successfully get it back, and I could not believe it. That's a nightmare. I'd be so terrified. So we got back onto the bus eventually, but right before that, when we were souvenir shopping, our bus driver found us saying that as long as he's there, we're not going to be late. Then we took the bus back, and our awesome driver and awesome tour guide was talking about how they were considering swimming. And I even mentioned yesterday, I asked them if there's a body of water around, because there's a long river stream, but it's definitely not meant for swimming. It's not suitable for swimming because it's more for whitewater rafting, and the current is really fast and the water is very cold. But then I was still like, oh, I'm so down, we should totally go, like, we're in Switzerland, come on, like, swimming in Switzerland would be so fun. But then my mom and relatives and friends, they were all discouraging it because they were like, it's too dangerous, the water's too cold, you're gonna get hurt, whatever. And I'm like, oh my god, we're in Switzerland, like, please, just let me go, I don't care. And I was honestly gonna leave without them knowing, but eventually it was stopped. So we ran around to find the pool. That's where we went swimming anyways, which was still fun and fine, but I was like, it would have been so much fun to go out swimming outside in a lake or something, because we drove past big bodies of water. There was even a group of friends that we passed by that had a trampoline and they did a backflip jumping over the bridge, but all of us on the bus were watching in awe, so none of us got a video or picture. And then later on, after swimming, but then this was before dinner as well, I went walking around on my own because, like I said, I desperately needed a break from my family, and it was so nice because I got to just relax, take in the sights. And I noticed a lot of people were out and they were not on their phones either, just enjoying the moment, enjoying their company. There were even kids playing soccer with a mountain as their backdrop. It was absolutely crazy. I even found an empty movie theater which only had one other person, and I grabbed some German movie posters, as well as in the theater there was a German movie playing. So might have to learn German someday, but who knows. Until dinner came around, either choose fondue or chicken. A lot of us chose fondue, of course, and we were expecting there to be much more. Like, we were expecting it to be more like a buffet, but all we got was a basket of bread, a big basket of bread, and then small cup of vegetables to dip into the cheese. And it was so, like, it was such a sad dinner. It was literally mid as hell. And the service too wasn't even that great. Like, the lady was so pissy, but it was whatever. I was like, oh god, it's like, we were all like, is this it? Like, we were all so disappointed. But after dinner, I went outside again and I sat outside and I watched a show, and it was so nice because the weather was nice and cool. And that's how I ended off the day in Switzerland.